So we have Bruce live in the locker room in Tallahassee celebrating on the field with the Florida State. It happened. And I don't know why. Like, we were able to run the ball so well in the first half, especially to the left side. And then all of a sudden we started to abandon it. And like I said, there is some inconsistency.
How are they going to approach this game? How are they going to beat this Florida State team, Dick?
Well, we're going to break you guys.
Okay, that's it. The show's over.
In the story, we're going to break you guys. Look, and I'm joking, but it's true. I mean,
Lord, the climb continues, KB. Oh my God!
I am sweating.
Look at my heart. Look.
You know what? Yeah, I have so much to say.
All right, welcome back to Seminole Sideline 365. My name is KB, and we just had the old man with us, but I think he's having some old man technical issues, so he will be with us hopefully shortly. But you're with me, and thank you for being with us. We're glad to be back here in the new year, 2025. So, and here he is, and oh God, and he has all day to test this, and now he's frozen in a great position. So we will go on without him. It's probably the first time he's turned on his computer in like 2 months. So that may be some of the issue. But we have a lot to go over tonight. Like it says in the thumbnail, we're going to be breaking down the 19 new player additions to this Florida State roster and giving kind of our impact rating and review on them. And by impact, we mean where do we feel like these players, what they'll contribute next year in year one? Because some of these guys only have 1 year left. Some of them could be potential multi-year players. But as Mike Norvell talked about, he's looking to make a fast fix. And I think, we'll debate, has he made the right changes in order to make a fast fix? And we know he's done that with the coaching staff. With a decent amount of turnover there and getting some quality coaches to overhaul that side of the football. But you look at who they brought in offensively and defensively, and most recently, as of last week, 3 or 4 new guys. There's a lot of people to go over. And I think it has been a little bit of a stark difference between how they've approached it last year, which may have affected the on-field performance. So we'll go into that. We'll give our individual ratings and reviews of each player as it stands right now. And we would love to get your feedback. So if you're watching this live, you're watching this recorded, let us know if you agree with us, who you think could be a really star standout player for Florida State, if you agree with Mike Norvell's philosophy in the portal this year so far, or if you have concerns, if you think they're not going after the right people, if they missed on the right prospect, or they missed on some of the prospects you thought they should go after. Because as it stands right now, certain sites, and one thing I want to discuss too as we get started is that you're going to see a lot of fan sites or a lot of similar podcasts to us, start saying, oh, well, Florida State now has the rated recruiting or a transfer portal class, and then you'll go on to another site. Some say it's top 5 or top 10. Then you'll go on to another site and it's number 15. Regardless, I don't think it really matters. What really matters, it doesn't, because once again, and we've seen it. You saw it with the quarterback at Cal. 1 week, literally within the last 2 weeks, he decommitted from Cal, committed to Oregon. And then he was a 5-star. It was all marketed. He was a 5-star recruit who had flipped from Cal to Oregon. He was with them for the bowl practices, on field with them as they were practicing, watching, reviewing stuff. He's coming in, he's going to be a 5-star. The week after they lose the bowl game, he decommits and then goes back to Cal, and now he's marketed as a 4-star recruit. So once again, it's the media bias of how these star rankings are adjusted sometimes can be biased between the schools they're going between. And that's why I don't want to get wrapped up too much in where these sites are ranking portal classes, because I think what matters the most is, are the guys that Florida State's bringing in, will they be able to make an impact on the field that was better than last year's class? It doesn't matter if because you'll go and you'll see some of these Twitter accounts, they'll say, so-and-so is the #1 top, remaining receiver available, da-da-da. Well, he's the only one available because he's the only one currently in there right now that has over 200 yards receiving. Or some guys, they'll say he's a top-rated recruit of the class of 2020. That pisses me off the most, because they'll reference a guy's stars from almost 5 years ago because he has no numbers over the last 4, but he'll be the top-rated recruit in the portal right now, and that doesn't make any sense to me. So I don't want to. That's why I don't want you to get too wrapped up in a portal class ranking, because that really won't matter until you look at the class after the season and say, did the guys that they bring in, were they impactful on the field, right? That's when really the class adjustment score, the ranking adjustment score really matters, and says, did the guys we bring in, did they make an impact? Did they make us better? And do they help us win ball games this year? And so we're going to give our initial assessments of who they brought in and say, do they look good? Do they fit positions of need? Are there still positions of need available out there that we think they still need to address on this football team? And there's been some breaking news today about a guy they missed out on in terms of the running back position, where Florida State had hosted the kid and got into his top 6, and he chose a different school. So we'll talk about that here at the beginning. But, old man, as we have you, do you want to discuss anything before we dive in?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
First of all, my stuff was up and running most of the afternoon. And then I pulled the mouse just a little bit, and it must be twisted behind all the other cords, and pulled it just a little bit, and it knocked me out of the game. I was down on the field. Couldn't, I had to go back, get in the tent, plug it back in, whatever. And here we are. Okay.
Right,
here we are. You didn't even give me a chance. You jumped right into the substance, the meat of this thing.
Well,
what about my holiday? Didn't you even say,
cares.
"Hey, old
Nobody
man,
cares.
what about your holiday?" Because I got a couple of nifty presents.
Oh, God.
Okay, now that you teased everybody, but I'm going to show what I got, because everybody out there, I want to know, all of our viewers tonight, drop in the comments what your best gift was. Best gift or most unusual gift. Hang on a minute. Check this out. Check these bad boys out. I got me some new dudes, Florida State dudes. Check these things out, dude. That's the real deal, buddy. That's right. Guess who that came from? Came from my buddy KB. KB, right there. Check these out. Now, let me ask, and I want the fans to let me know too. You tell me, KB, do I leave the official tags on?
You do not.
Because it's officially licensed gear. I see I see guys around the mall. They got the hat on. They got the tag still.
Do not do that.
Do I do that or not?
Do not leave the tags on. Just wear them as shoes.
Okay, I want everybody out there, our viewers tonight, our family of viewers. We love you guys. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Listen, should I leave the tag on and off?
No,
That's
God,
pretty. That's pretty nifty, isn't it? How many people out there have these bad boys?
I
no
love
one.
those shoes.
No one.
I wish I lived somewhere warmer so I could wear them right now.
No one. Okay, leave tags on or not. Now, the most unique gift I got is this one. Check this out. Check this out. Roto Wipe. If you run out of toilet paper, the Roto Wipe, look, it's got like a little buzzsaw thing there. No, it's like one of those things you grind with a grinder wheel. You put it on your toilet. Look at a guy sitting there. You don't need toilet paper. It just wipes it right off. Check that out. Roto Wipe. Say goodbye to costly toilet paper. And by God, things are costly now.
So disgusting.
All right.
That
was my Christmas. What was your most unique gift? Anything?
I got a lot of great things.
Which one stands out?
Things. I'm using a lot of my winter stuff. I got some winter clothes and I got my winter socks on right now. I got some new lights that I still need to put up. They're a little bit more complicated than I thought they were. So I'm looking to put those up to kind of enhance the studio feel.
Right.
So I got those right next to me right now.
All right.
I got a lot of great stuff down right now. So
excellent holiday.
Great Christmas.
Okay.
So
all right, back to the meat.
So yeah, so I wanna dig in here into some things. So the latest breaking news, like I teased there, was
Right.
this running back out of Utah State that Florida State was
Right.
targeting.
Right.
So it came out that they were hosting him this past week. Rasul Faison, I think I talked about him on our last show last week. This is what I talk about when I say veteran presence or a veteran type of guy that I like, that I would wish Florida State would bring in more of in different skill position groups. 1,000 yards, 1,100 yards.
Well, we're going to go through that on everybody they brought in.
We are. And this was a guy, you can see the numbers, they speak for themselves. Had a great season last year, real dynamic guy. Kind of, it reminds you a little bit of Trayshawn Ward, the type of style he plays, in my opinion.
Not against elite teams.
Okay, but players play, and it's tough to get 1,100. You could say that about the guy at Boise State. I would still take him in the heartbeat. So you know,
he's going to the NFL though.
Well, I know.
Okay.
But the whole competition things, guys can play or they can't. And this guy was being his top 6. He was being highly recruited. So it wasn't, people saw enough that they wanted this guy. It wasn't like, oh, Florida State. So he was down to South Carolina, Alabama, UCF, UCLA, UNC, and us, and he chose South Carolina. I thought this was going to be a tough one to win. Because you got to look at who's in your room already. You already have, I think as of today, at least 6+ running backs. So I thought
that's why I don't see this guy as a significant loss. I really don't.
I do. So I think I see it two ways. I see it as, well, I thought it was kind of dumb to recruit him the way you did, because I was like, the pitch is going to be kind of hard because you have Roy Dale coming back, you have Cam coming back, you have Sam Singleton, you have Micah Danzy, depending on how you play him. You have the new freshman, the 4 or 5-star guy out of Georgia that you like. Crow. You got a bunch of guys that are coming back, as well as freshmen that you really like. And so that's 5 or 6 guys that are in this room now. And then you're going to say to a veteran guy that has, I believe he has 1 year left, maybe 2, who's coming from Utah State, that's not coming to sit. He's not coming to rotate. He wants to be the guy. From what I hear and what I see, how do you pitch that to him? How do you pitch that? Oh, hey, yeah, we got 6 guys here. Do you want to come play for? And you're not going to give. You're also not going to give him a tier 1 type of money, because you're having to pay 6 other guys in the room too. So I thought it was kind of a stretch that you would get him. But the numbers speak for themselves, and because when you look at the numbers of the people who are in the running back room now, your leading running back has 200 yards career. That's the part that scares me. And that's why I liked the targeting of a player like this, but I thought the recruitment would be tough, because you're telling them that we have a stacked room already, a lot of bodies in this room, and you didn't do a job. You didn't commit to it. You didn't cut enough guys before the recruitment to say, so I do think it's a miss. I do think it's a miss, because your leading running back's 200 yards career. That's scary. That's scary to me.
Okay.
That's not scary to you?
No, it really isn't, to be honest. I don't see it as a significant loss, because he was probably demanding premium money, and they thought he got above where they wanted his pay grade. I don't totally disagree with your argument. I just didn't see it as a significant loss. I like the guys in our running back room. What I tweeted out when I saw this is that I'd rather spend more money in the offensive line room. I don't think it's a problem with the running backs that they have in the room. I think it's been a problem with the offensive line, the worst in the history of Florida State football and last year in NCAA football. Spend that money on quality linemen, both starters and backups, because you're going to lose 1 or 2 of those guys probably during the season. I hate to see that. So who do you have in backup positions as well? Now, we'll talk about the guys they've brought in here in a minute. Don't go away. We're going to talk about those guys. But I don't want to spend a lot of time with this running back. He's not part of this team. He's going to South Carolina, I believe.
Yep.
And we'll see how it works out, But I do believe the money is better spent on the offensive line. So if we want to start with the offensive player additions, I'm ready to rock and roll.
Yep. Let's start with the offense. And the headline player to kick off, I think the portal was your quarterback. And we know that was a position of need. We saw it last year with DJ. This offense is going to cater towards a guy that's athletic, playmaker, and TC. He checks a lot of those boxes. Now the only concerns are, turnovers. Is he a true passer? Can he make the big throws? His walking away from the team last year at Boston College, that's not as big of a concern to me. But I think, I'll start off with my rating for Thomas.
Yeah.
I think he's a good addition for what you could get. I think they wanted to make a splash early in terms of signing a quarterback early, because he was I believe he may have been the first signing they had. And I think that was smart, because you didn't want to get in a late stage bidding war for a quarterback. Sort of like I felt like they held out last year for a quarterback, and that may have burned them a little bit. With the Cam Ward, DJ, stuff like that. I think they may have been holding out for DJ or for Cam Ward, and then he went to the NFL. He was going to go to the NFL, then didn't, then went to stuff like that.
Blah, blah, blah.
And we don't know how much DJU was getting paid, so we don't know how much money went to DJU last year and how much they allocated to the quarterback position, which I would assume it was probably a lot. But I think Thomas is probably a value pickup for them. I don't think he was going to be able to get a ton of money out there based on the circumstances of what happened at Boston College. But I think if we look at the ways he's played against us, and even if you look 2 years ago at his statistics, and he's a dynamic playmaker, and that's what you need in this type of offense. You're not looking for a Drew Brees, stand in the pocket, deliver the football type of quarterback in this offense. You need the guy that can make plays with his legs, a guy that can also deliver the football at times, but you need a dual threat, and I think he checks a lot of those boxes, and you're able to get him quickly and not have to get in a bidding war with an Alabama, a Georgia, a Texas, and that was key. You didn't have to go against a blue blood for his services and price yourself out of the market for other key additions that we'll talk about here later. So I think I think he'll be an instant impact player, obviously, for you. And I think he'll help I think he'll be the difference in multiple games. I think his ability to make plays with his legs will win you certain games, will be the difference in winning games. Much like it was a detriment last year with DJE, where because the offensive line was so poor and he couldn't move, it hurts you in games, right? He was a statue in the pocket, and that plus a terrible offensive line, I think doomed you for most of the season that he was in there. So I think this is an instant upgrade, and I'm excited to see what he can do in this offense.
I'm not going to add a lot to that. I totally agree with what you're saying. I think if you look at this team, the way it's being built, it's a one-year team. This is a one-year rental team, pretty much, okay? That this quarterback is here in the right situation for the right purpose. And he is going to win you ball games. As a minimum, he'll win 6 games. As a minimum, okay? That's not the ceiling. He's going to win 6 games. He's going to get you to a bowl game unless tragically he gets injured. All right? Then all bets are off. This team, the way it's being built, it hasn't played together. What is there, like 30, 35 new bodies coming in between high school guys and portal guys?
Yeah, 19 with
okay.
And high school, like you said.
The main thing is they haven't played together as a unit. So you figure we're going to be in some close games, and he can make plays that could win you those close games. He could make those plays to get you down to the winning field goal. He's a dynamic player who has good enough, as I say, good enough skills to win you ball games. He's not an elite player. He's not a guy that's going to win the national championship for you in 1 year. But Mike Norvell needs to fix the flood, and he's going to plug it with a quarterback that I think can win him some games. The question is really, and we're going to move on through these players, is what do the fans really expect? What do the fans see as a turnaround? Is 6 wins good enough? Is that good enough? Or do they expect more? So is he the right quarterback? Yes. And I say he's productive. He's got production. He's got performance. So I like the pick.
All right, so we both agree year one impact, and he'll win you some games with his ability.
Yeah, he's productive. He's got production.
Next player was a guy that I know a lot of Florida State fans were excited about. Legacy player Deuce Robinson from USC. So this is an addition that this is a guy that has potentially 2 years with you, he has multiple years of eligibility left, depending on how things go. This is a guy that I think there's a strategy to the way that they're attacking the wide receiver position. As we've remarked multiple times on the show, is that you had a wide receiver room last year that was thin on game time experience and yardage, with really only what's his name? Sorry, the slot receiver. I've already forgotten his name. But anyway, Ja'Kai, exactly. Ja'Kai was your only reliable guy last year. And we were used to him getting hurt, but he was your leading receiver last year and the year before, with him returning after you lost Johnny and Keon. But you're right back in the same scenario now that Ja'Kai was gone. You needed guys with some experience playing in big games, catching the football with yardage, and scoring touchdowns. Because when you look at the roster and the roster composition, your room is right back where it was before. You have Hakeem Williams, Jalen Brown, Elijah Moore, LaWayne McCoy. You had Kentron. He's gone. He's leaving. He's going in the portal. But you had guys that literally had career numbers and 200-yard career yardage numbers. It was a scary proposition. So I think the strategy was for Florida State 2 ways. It was either we go after a Keon Coleman type, a guy that has 800 to 1,000 yards, and we go all in on like a star like that and spend a lot of money there. Or we get a couple of like mid-range guys. We pay them a couple of skilled mid-range guys, and we spread the wealth around a little bit. And we try to get guys that have higher upside, kind of like Johnny Wilson guys who have ability and are looking to take that next step. And I think that's what they've done. And Deuce Robinson, I think, is a good example of that. They wanted to get bigger. He's 6'6", 220. He had some decent games last year at USC. He had 5 touchdowns last year, which would have been, he would have been the number 1 receiver at Florida State last year based on his numbers. And I think he has the ability to get even better. I think he has the ability to be like a Johnny Wilson and have a breakout year with Florida State, depending on how the QB position rolls, and be with you for 2 years, just like Johnny Wilson was. So I think this is a quality pickup, and I think there's no downside to this, and I think he can have a year 1 impact with you.
Not elite, not star player. I see him as kind of a slash between he's played the game, he's been productive, but not a high level production, and they're bringing him in as I think higher on the potential side than as a star. He's not a Keon Coleman, type of player. He kind of reminds me as a Johnny Wilson type pickup, but he actually has more production than Johnny Wilson when he came to Florida State. He is a legacy guy, and recently legacy guys haven't worked out very well for us, and many of them are no longer on the roster. So I think he'll be an interesting guy to see. He's going to compete for starting position. If not, he's going to be in the rotation, and we need his production. So I think he's going to serve a purpose. I like the pick, but he's not a star at this point.
No, he's not a star at this point, like you said, but this is a guy that was on the field, showed the ability to catch balls, 3 for 63 against Notre Dame, 4 for 9 against Nebraska. I mean, like you talk about quality of competition, this guy was playing against good defenses all year.
Yeah.
Wasn't the primary target.
He knows where to line up. He knows how to run routes. He knows this is his opportunity. Like most of these guys, you want to get to the next level. This is an opportunity for you to do that.
Yeah, so I think it's an upgrade, and I think, like you said, he has the ability to make an impact year 1.
And he's played against big-time D1 competition.
Exactly. So I think this is an upgrade for Florida State. Talking on that was a commitment last week to the wide receiver position. So we're talking about 2, I think, similar type of players, and not in terms of size or their role in the offense. But another receiver that has similar type of production in terms of the last year, Squirrel White from Tennessee. This we'll talk about multiple Tennessee players that have come over. But Squirrel White is a speed guy, right? He is known for being one of the fastest players in college football. And this was a
That's why they call him Squirrel. You ever seen a squirrel when your car approaches them? They dart. They go this way, they stop, and they go that way. That's Squirrel. That's why he's called Squirrel.
And as we know,
this 165 pounds. Hell, I weigh as much as Squirrel does. I can still run. I can still get it.
And as we know, this is a Florida State offense that wasn't explosive at all. I think it was probably the least explosive offense I've ever seen at Florida State in my lifetime.
He's as big as I am. 5'10", 167. He's a little bit heavier. I'm 160.
Okay.
Like still get it. Look.
But they're bringing this guy in. And once again, he brings 1,600 yards of production with him. So this is a guy that, 481 yards last year. 2023 was a breakout year for him. This is the guy you're going to throw it up to in the back of the end zone. But this is the guy that can take the top off of a defense, right? This guy that
I think you said we're not going to throw it up in the end back of the end zone. He's not a 6'6" guy. You're going to throw that to Deuce Robinson.
But this is the guy that you can do a vertical route to and make defenses will have to respect his speed, and that's what you need. You need
He's
guys
the new Ja'Kai Douglas. Right?
You could say that.
Better.
He's
probably
faster,
a little bit more productive.
More
too.
explosive than I think Ja'Kai.
Right.
And once again, this is the guy that has potential. He's shown it. He has tape that now defenses will say, we've seen what he can do. I don't think he's the best route runner. I don't think he's the best receiver there's example clips. You can look at Clay Finks posted some stuff lately. I don't think he's the best. You think he's the best route runner?
I don't
I just said he wasn't.
I can't really. I know you said he wasn't, but given his production, he is one of the more productive players that Norvell and staff has brought in. If you look at his number, he's played a lot of ball. He's played a lot of ball at a high level and in the SEC. And I think if he's catching footballs, he's getting open. So he must be an adequate to pretty good route runner if he's getting separation.
Well, so
Clay's throwing him swing passes.
Clay's done a really good job. Clay's done a really good job. Go check him out. He did a really good breakdown of how they've used.
Clay puts up some decent stuff
at Tennessee. And one of his biggest games was against Vandy in 2023, where he had 110 yards on 10 catches. But this is how I think they're going to use him. Is you've seen Mike Norvell do these screen plays on the sidelines, and last year, it never worked. It never worked, right? And it was a combination of receivers never blocked, and you just didn't.
This guy right there on the outside, it has to make the block.
Yeah,
he has to make that blocker. Has no opportunity to get. It's a 10-yard play, if that.
But that's one reason why they want to get bigger at the receiver level is that they
guys
want these
who can block.
Yeah, they want these guys that are committed to blocking, can make plays when they get thrown the ball, but are committed to make the block. And then you have Squirrel White behind him, who's fast and shifty, who's going to make the ability to break a tackle and go for 10 yards.
Well,
right?
listen. If they're not committed, I don't like that word committed to block. It's their damn job on those plays.
That doesn't mean they're committed.
But if they're not making the block, they're not going to be in on that series. And Gus Malzahn is not going to play with that. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. So I think Squirrel, and like I said, there's some really good.
I like Squirrel. I like his productivity. He's a good pick.
There's some things I think that could be tightened up with his route running. I think he does try to rely too much on his speed at the line. In his route running. So, and that's why I think some of his numbers, maybe he was a little bit banged up last year. He did have
got hurt last year.
He did have an injury last year.
And he got hurt. No, he got hurt in the playoff game this year a little bit.
He was banged up, I believe, at the end of the year. So,
in the playoff game against Ohio State.
Yeah, exactly. So they don't have concerns about that. Overall, I agree with you. I think this is a quality pickup because it's a guy that, once again, brings the experience, brings the yardage, brings the game tape. Defense will have to respect him and what he brings. And he brings a different dimension than Deuce, right?
He is probably, and we're going to talk as we go through, between him and Castellanos in terms of production. Guys that have produced, they are the top two right now that I see on the board.
In terms of skill position players.
And let me add this, KB. I don't see the injury thing as a big deal.
No.
He's been evaluated, and they wouldn't have brought him into this situation if they thought that was going to be an issue.
And this is a guy, and you may not see this as a factor, but this is a guy that when he came to visit, he brought his family. This guy has a kid. I believe he has a wife. Like,
he does have a small baby.
And so this is a guy that's looking. He knows he had to pick a place, and he's got to show off for the next level. He's taking care of a family, right? I don't think he's going to come around and fool around. He doesn't have time for that, right?
There's nobody on this roster that should be in Tallahassee that's here to fool around. Because if the coaches, no, I understand.
It's easy to say that. It's easy to
He's
say
mature.
that.
He's mature at this point. He has obligations, future and current obligations.
Yeah.
To get better, because he probably does not want to go out of football at the end of the Florida State tour. Yeah. Okay. This guy, he reminds me, and I want to move on, but he reminds me a little bit of a Tyreek Hill who wants out of Miami Dolphins land. But Tyreek Hill is a very small guy who can get open downfield. Now, I'm not saying he's a Tyreek Hill, but if you can get separation and your quarterback's on the run, you got a quarterback on the run, he can pass, and he sees this guy open, it could be some explosive plays. That's what we would like to see, obviously, and could happen.
Yeah, I agree with it. I think, like you said, plays like this where he's a burner. He can make a play in the open field.
I hate to cover this guy, and he can catch the football.
Yeah.
See, some guys can run, but
that's going to be the thing.
But
the question will be, can TC deliver the football in the right spot consistently? That will be the factor.
He'll be fine
because that's it. He's open, but you got to fit in that window.
Okay. TC's game, Castellanos' game, is not the long passing. It's the short and medium passes. Gus Malzahn knows that, and he's going to develop plays. That's Malzahn's job, to develop plays that fit the players.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. Let's move on to tight ends. So I think we both agree those are two additions. And just as a reminder, who we lost in receiver room, we lost Malik Benson, who's now with Oregon. Which I think he'll do well. I do. I think Malik Benson.
He's going to get buried. He's going to get buried.
I think if we had a functional offense last year, Malik Benson could have been a really good player. So, no. And I think he'll do well if he gets a spot with Oregon, which I don't think they would have recruited them if they don't think he could play. So, because they had the pick of the litter. Deuce Spann went to Pittsburgh. We wish him well. Destin Hill, LSU. I don't really understand that. And then Darian Williamson still looking for a job.
Destin Hill's not going to show above the horizon.
Once again,
no loss there. There was no loss.
No,
Benson.
I think the
only loss with there.
No, I think the only potential loss was with Benson, but I think they did a good job and we have a lot of young guys. Hakeem, those guys, a lot of guys need to step up as well.
Okay, let's
tight
move
ends.
on. Yep.
Marquise and Douglas comes back. We talked about that a little. Didn't really have a lot of production last year at Arizona State, but we know what he can do as a blocker. We've already seen what he can do in 2023 with Jordan Travis in the offense. He's capable of making big plays. He's sneakily athletic with his size, even as big as he is.
He's
he can
not
make
a
plays.
star, though. He's not a star.
No, but he's consistent in what he does. Effort.
I think he had one catch or two catches for 5 yards.
But we know what he does.
Arizona State.
You don't need God, but what I'm saying
and Arizona
is that
State had a
good
team.
You know what he does.
I know what he does.
And that's what you need. You need
Malzahn wants him as a blocker.
Exactly.
And he's going to have to fit that and then slide out now and then, which he seems able to do and catch the football.
Yeah.
So, he's not looking at a big season for pass catching yards. No. It's more, can he sustain blocks? And Gus Malzahn likes to run the football. Okay.
Yeah.
He wants to run the football, and you need blocking tight ends to do that.
Reliable blocking tight ends.
Reliable, who can catch a couple of passes to keep the linebackers honest on him.
Yeah, I agree. So I think it's a quality pickup. And then you got Randy Pittman.
It's a decent pickup, but he's not a star. Okay.
They don't all have to be stars. We had guys on the field that couldn't do anything.
Okay.
So you're not all going to be stars. Like, no team is full of stars. Like, I think it's a quality pickup for what you're looking to do, what you're looking to achieve next year. Next pickup is Randy Pittman. He comes from UCF, where obviously Gus Malzahn was. Once again,
hey, by the way, we got a lot of nicknames. We got the Squirrel, we got Biscuit, we got Pot Roast. We got a lot of nicknames. I kind of like that. It's kind of fun. The fans love that stuff, though.
A lot of nicknames. So this is another guy that has decent production. I mean, this is the guy that Florida State originally recruited out of high school. He comes back around with Gus Malzahn.
Yes,
this guy
more
does have
production than the Biscuit has. Okay,
yeah, but he's a different type of player. But he also does block. He also does block, and he's more athletic. And
look at his receptions.
Yeah, and you have to respect his ability to catch the football.
And he can play different positions. Tight end, he can get in the slot a little bit for you. You know, he can get out and get matchup problems. He lines up at tight end, comes off the. You know, he's going to be a matchup problem. That's what Gus Malzahn functions on, matchup problems.
Exactly. So I think, once again, in terms of guys that you lost at the tight end position, you lost Brian Courtney, Jackson Terrell Powers. This is an upgrade, and this is the guy that can have an impact because you've seen the impact he's had with UCF, and he fits into the scheme of what Norvell and Malzahn want to do.
What I don't like is what I'm hearing coming out of the Florida State camp is that they've kind of moving Amari Williams out of the tight end position. I liked what I saw out of Amari Williams, catching the ball, able to get open and block people. I hate to see him moved to linebacker or defensive end and get buried for another season or two. This guy's talented, and I'd rather see him in that tight end room. Okay. I don't understand why they're making a late move on a guy like this. I think he has 3 years left. I just don't want to see him wasted. He's talented.
I don't think they're going to. No, I don't think they would waste it. He has to be on the field. He's like you said, he's a talented kid. But I think, like you said, I think they see him as potentially being buried because you had Landon Thomas. You brought in the kid from Nebraska. He's too talented to not be on the field. So
they tried this with.
And you already brought him in he originally, I believe, did come in as a DN type, like kind of a hybrid type player. So
we'll see. You know what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying. And then
we did that with Brian Courtney, who's now in the portal. But
he was a high school quarterback.
He was quarterback, and he played everything. But they moved him around, and he just get lost.
But he was a developmental high upside player for Mike Norvell, which
nice kid. And has he signed with anybody at Courtney?
Yeah, he signed. He was taking visits this week.
Okay. We wish him the best of luck. We wish him all of these guys that have left. We wish him best of luck.
Yeah.
We're not here to degrade people. Okay.
Offensive linemen. So 4 so far have been signed. I still think we need probably 2 more to make me happy. Because we can't understate how decimated this
I want to spend my money there. That's why I want to spend my money.
And I think they've signed some decent. They've signed guys who have experience and they have size. These are some big guys. So the first one we'll start with is Gunnar Hansen from Vanderbilt. This is a guy that. Let me know. Let me get your impression of. What do you think of Gunnar Hansen from Vanderbilt?
Put up a different picture.
A different picture. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you got Pitt and Randy up there still, who is going to be fun to watch. Gunnar Hansen, I like him. He's a productive guy. He's not being brought in on high ceiling or potential. He's a 1-year rental guy, as far as I know. He's a 1-year guy. He's played 3. He's been a starter for 3 years on a Vanderbilt SEC team. He's played good competition in practice and in games. He's got a lot of reps. He could come in and play multiple. He could play tackle. He's played guard. He's played a little center. So I like the pick. I mean, it's a good pickup. Yeah, he's probably better than any offensive lineman we had last year, without a doubt. Okay.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't think that.
Okay.
That's.
I don't think he comes from a good school, St. Thomas. They put out a lot of football players. He's got good size and he's got a lot of experience. I like him.
Yeah, I think once again he's an upgrade.
Yep.
Obviously, he'll be an instant impact. he'll need to be an instant impact.
No, he's going to be a starter. They didn't bring him in here as a backup.
No,
you know?
and you would expect him to elevate what you have.
Yes.
Once again, his best game last year was against Alabama, which is what you want to see. You want
Yep.
that consistency, though.
Yep.
You want him to perform at that PFF level, which in terms of passing block grade. I wouldn't say he's the best offensive lineman that they could have signed in the transfer portal, because I do think he's not gonna. I don't
His
see
pass block grades are really good. His run block, he's a good run block. This guy's just got to stay healthy.
Yeah,
we need this guy to stay healthy.
I don't expect him to be all ACC. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think he does elevate what you have.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like to get into those predictions.
I'm just saying, I don't want people to come in and think he's going to dominate every rep. I don't see that.
Well, that's fine. That's your opinion. I think he is a big upgrade over what we had. This is what they have to do. Okay, so I like the pick.
Well, I think the biggest thing, too, is his size, 6'5", 330, getting bigger on the line.
Size doesn't mean shit if you can't play.
Well, he can play, and that's different.
Well, I said he could. That's why I like.
But you said size doesn't matter if you can't play, and that you said he can play, and he has size. So
Julian
two things are great.
Amella, who's now in UCLA, he's a big guy. He couldn't play.
But
Lucas Simmons,
you're saying this guy can play.
Lucas Simmons,
that's what we're talking about.
He's got proven production, is what you and I are saying. We said
that's what I'm talking about.
This football program had to bring in proven production. He has that proven production, period. Next choice.
Adrian Medley is the next guy we're talking about from UCF. So once again, he follows Herb Hand over. He's the only one from the UCF team that follows him over thus far.
I think, okay. You want me to go first? I'll go first.
I don't love Adrian, but
Adrian Medley, if Herb Hand would not have brought this player in if he didn't think the guy could play. Adrian Medley has played a good enough amount of football at UCF, and he's not related to Herb Hand. So Herb Hand, whose job is to coach the offensive line, he's going to be responsible for that and moving the football and getting rush yardage. He wouldn't have brought in Mr. Medley if this guy couldn't play some. I'm not saying he's going to be all world. I'm not saying he's going to be an NFL draft pick, but Herb Hand brought this kid in for some reason. Okay. He just didn't, they're not that desperate to just roll in guys at this point. So I'm going to trust Herb Hand knows what he's doing. I think he's as good as anybody on last year's football team on the offensive line. I think it's a decent pick.
Yeah. Well, I think once again, I think he follows Herb because he trusts Herb as his positional coach.
But Herb had a room of 15 guys. So,
but I don't think all 15 guys were going to follow him, and I think some guys are going to trust him more than the others.
But Herb Hand is not going to bring a guy in just because he likes the guy. He likes him because he can play.
But he also needs bodies too. This is a room that has very little experienced bodies now. So Herb Hand at some point doesn't have a choice in terms of.
No, but Medley has experience.
He does. But we know from last year, experience doesn't mean shit. And you just said that. So, I'm looking at his run blocking grades, which were as bad as a lot of our linemen last year. And that scares me. Okay, well, so I'm not super excited about this.
However, if you look at the rush yardage per game that UCF put up, he must have been blocking somebody because they put up a hell of a lot more rush yards than Florida State did.
But that's 5 guys, and you had an elite running back. I don't know if Florida State has an elite running back.
Yeah, I think our running backs are fine.
So, we don't have an RJ Harvey in our backfield right now.
Okay, that's okay.
So,
all right, I think it's a decent pickup.
I don't think this is a huge impactful pick. So,
you mean on Adrian?
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about. Okay.
I don't think let's go. I don't think he, once again, I don't think
let's move on to Micaiah Pettis.
So this guy from Ole Miss, he got dismissed from Ole Miss at the end of the year. So there's some
what was I didn't know that. What was he dismissed
you've done all this research, right? So you tell me you didn't know.
The reading I did just didn't say anything about dismissal, so maybe I didn't check further enough. Because you know me, I get curious of what the hell happened. I'm still curious about Destin Hill. I'm still curious about him. You know, we know how Gary Moss, the NFL great, got thrown out of Florida State because smoking weed. Okay. After he got thrown out of Notre Dame. So I like those stories, but no, are you sure about he was dismissed? Are you sure about that? Transfer after being dismissed. A source. Who's the source?
Once again, I'm not trying to make a big deal about
Don't
this.
make this a big deal.
I'm not. But I don't. Why would Ole Miss, who, once again, I don't think Florida State would have signed him if they thought this was a big deal. Which is why I'm fine.
They
with
would
it.
not bring this guy in if they thought this was a big deal.
So that's why I'm not. It needs to be known.
Well, what did it say? What did the article? What did it say?
No, it's paywalled. Once again, it's ambiguous. It's very.
Okay. We're not gonna.
It's a source. No official.
Anonymous sources a lot of times are either made up or don't have any clue the facts of a story, and that's wrong. Okay, and that's wrong. So as far as I'm concerned, Mr. Pettis is as good as or better than what we had last year.
Yeah, I think,
but not a star. He's not coming in here as some superstar lineman.
No, I think when you look at how he graded out and how he played, like once top experience, 670, 350, a lot of experience. I think he's the opposite of Medley in terms of he's a better run blocker than he's a pass blocker, which is a positive because we need better run blockers.
Right. Right.
But I think overall he's a above average offensive lineman, which is a positive. I think he only gave up 1 sack this past season. And started.
And he was a starter, right? Yeah, he was a starter.
He was. The only negative to him is that he was penalized 7 times on the season, which you could say, well, that's less than 1 time per game.
Yeah, right.
So there are some things to clean up on him, but he's a massive guy at right tackle. Like, you need a massive guy on your tackle side.
I think Gus Malzahn's stocking his offensive line for first of all the run offense, the rush. He wants to establish that run. He knows he's got a running quarterback as well, and the running quarterback can save some problems like Jordan Travis did when his offensive line was not elite.
So my question for you is why does if you're Ole Miss, why are you letting your starting offensive lineman walk? Like, why does the starting offensive lineman for a top 15 team walk? That's my concern. Well, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I just told you.
Go to a 2-win team.
If there's something to the story, I'll look into it a little bit more, but I'm not going to do it now. But I get curious about why people do what they do. And that's not just Mr. Pettis here. It's anybody. Why was Destin Hill out of football for 2 years? He's not on team, so I don't care anymore what he does. But I get curious. I get curious that major sports media people don't look into those stories during the off season, a little bit. They don't seem to, develop their stories. That's what people are interested in that stuff.
Even if there is nothing behind the it makes me think there was something there because you don't see many starting offensive linemen from championship contenders leave. Just straight off leave before they even play the bowl game. It just doesn't make sense.
I'm not super concerned, KB, just because I trust in Herb Hand. He's a guy been around a long time, and he is going to be held accountable by the fans and by FSU, as far as I'm concerned, and Norvell for production. And he thinks this guy can be meet production standards, and he must not think he's a troublemaker or that there's an issue here. Who knows? It could have been anything. I'm not even going to speculate. So we want to give this guy a fair shot.
Yeah, I'm not speculating anything.
Right.
But you also have to know that Herb Hand also is in I hate to bring up his name, but he's also in like a Atkins-like position where he comes into a first-year horrible position where he has to whittle together an offensive line made of scraps and try to figure it out. So he's not always going to be able to bring in, and this isn't just to who we were just talking about. He basically has to build a starting offensive lineman through the portal with we don't know what the budget is, but you're not going to always get the best guys or the best available guys. And I think for us to assume that every guy that they sign is going to be starting caliber, going to be the perfect fit is tough, because, I mean, I don't envy Herb Hand's position and having to cobble together an offensive line coming off a 2-10, or a 2-win season and the worst offense in the country, and having to build it through the portal. Because it's hard to market. It's hard to market the guys like that. And it's hard to find starting caliber linemen in the portal, especially from Power 4 level teams, which is,
you know what's kind of weird? The guy who wrote the article, and we got to move on from this. The guy who wrote this article is quoting this anonymous source that it doesn't say anything.
No.
And the university never said he was dismissed. The university never published anything official that I can see, because it says right in the article, no official announcement has been made.
Yeah.
It's
very
no. They
weird.
could have said to the kid, "You're going to be dismissed, or you better go into the portal." I mean, they used to say that to kids back in the old days in the courtrooms. They'd say, "You're going to go to jail. You can go into the military." Back in the days, 30s and the 40s, So let's move on from this. I don't think there's much to it. I think Herb Hand and Malzahn and Norvell, obviously they all chopped off on this and they brought him in. But this also says, why do key players, star players, leave programs? Because they're chasing better opportunities, and that includes money, better opportunities, because it's not like, well, I just want to stay here with my buddies anymore. That's not the football we have anymore. It's, this is a great place. All my buddies here. I'll just stay here. You're pursuing better opportunities. He would not be here unless Norvell chopped off on it, Malzahn chopped off on it, and Herb Hand chopped off on it.
No, I agree, and I hope he turns into. He has the potential to be a really good player.
I think that's a bullshit article written in there in Mississippi, and this guy Sam Hutchins covers Ole Miss for the Clarion Ledger. It's got to be some small out in the woods town, and I may even email him and say, "What the shit?" That's not a good story, and it's not fair to the kid. Yeah. That's it from me.
So I do hope he turns out, because we obviously need him to have a big year. So next one.
This is not last chance U. Okay, let's make that clear. This Florida State is not last chance U.
Okay. Luke Pettibon from Wake Forest. I think this is a good pickup as well. I think Pettis is an impactful pickup. I think Pettibon is another impactful pickup when we're talking about guys who can come in right away and start playing for you they have to come in and start playing for you, because that's why you brought them in.
You brought these guys in to be starters.
And this is an all-conference guy, right? We know how Wake Forest, they typically have a decent offensive line. They typically get the most out of the guys they recruit, because they're not getting 4-star players.
Right.
And this is a guy that graded out at an 88 for pass blocking last year and 70 overall. So his key tendency or his better attribute is pass blocking. So you're getting guys that do different things well and then grade out kind of above average or right at the average level. And so I think Pettibon is a great addition to this team. I'm glad that they were able to pounce on him right within the conference and get him.
Good
Smart
pickup.
kid, honor roll guy, really high IQ from what everyone says. And I think this may be your best pickup. It may not be the flashiest, because
he's got a great bloodline, which you may not realize, but I do. Okay. The name Pettibone goes back to the days of the area of the Hogs. Remember the Washington Redskins Hogs? Remember the Hogs? Yep. Okay. He is the grandson, I believe. He's the grandson of Richie Pettibone.
These
Richie,
Hogs?
Yeah, the Washington
The
Hogs.
Hoggette, the Hoggette.
Yeah, the Hoggettes, man. This goes back to the championship days when Richie Pettibone, who was a star in the NFL for the Chicago Bears for many years. I think he played maybe with the Skins too. But he was a top-notch defensive coach for the Washington Redskins in their heyday, okay, when they were winning Super Bowls. So the Pettibone name has some strength to it.
Are they related? Do you know if they're related?
That's his grandson. That's his grandson, Luke Pettibone. I just told you that. Wouldn't you listen?
I didn't.
That's Richie Pettibone. I grew up watching this guy, but he was on the Redskins staff when they were winning, and he was a tough-nosed football coach. Okay, under what's his name? Who was the coach of the Redskins? Won all the championship. Gibbs, Joe Gibbs. Yeah, this guy goes way back. Yeah. And this is his grandson. Okay.
Very cool.
So the Pettibone name, this kid is going to be a tough kid. It's a great pickup. He's played a lot of football, and he's been a starter. I think he can play. I'm not sure where he'll play on the line, but he should be the center. He should be the center.
And I think that was a big area of concern last. I mean, we could barely snap the ball some games. Like,
it's terrible.
How many bad snaps?
Maurice Smith did not have a good season, and he's a nice guy. They're all nice players. We fall in love with them, but we're just giving our opinion.
And I think
I like this pickup. This is a good quality pickup, good production.
All ACC honorable mention, and only allowed 1 sack all season, which was tied for the fewest among centers.
And he knows what he's getting into. He's not an FCS guy. He's not trying to come up a level. But all of these guys, I think here's the other thing. When players change teams, they do it for opportunities. But part of that opportunity is to show themselves on a different team, okay, and their ability to adjust to a new team and make an impact. The NFL likes stuff like that. They like stuff like that. Okay. They don't just get comfortable in one environment. It's tougher to get productive in a new environment. So I like the pickup.
So I think that's all the offensive player additions so far. I think the only player I think as a potentially impactful player right now is Adrian Medley. I need to see more of him. I need to review more. Yeah. But
at worst, he's a quality backup.
Correct.
I thought he wouldn't be here.
What I've seen,
we're trying to find out the starters, and then their backups because offensive linemen get hurt.
But but I'm talking about starter impactful, and I don't know.
Nobody on that lineup. None of these players are stars that we've brought in from the portal. Are they good players? Yes. Are they good plus? Yeah. Are they stars?
What's a star? What do you describe as a star?
A star is someone who can take you to the playoffs.
Okay.
Now, the only thing I cover that with is this. This is probably not the right show for it, but given the strength of the ACC in my eyes coming up in 2025, I think Florida State has an opportunity to compete to get into the ACC championship game given their schedule.
Okay, we'll talk about that later.
Another show.
So the only person you said wasn't impactful on this was Marqueston Douglas.
Yeah, I don't see him as a big impact player on this at this point. From a production standpoint, for sure.
So we think, essentially, we agreed that almost 9 out of 10 guys, or
they've 8
out of 9 guys are impactful that they've had.
Yeah, Deuce Robinson, I think, still has to show. He still has to show me that he is a star or can be a star. But they all have played football. They've all played a lot of football against good talent. So they're not going to be, like big wide-eyed because they're playing against Miami or Pittsburgh or SMU. They've played against such teams.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's go to the defensive side of the football. So you brought in so far 7 guys on the defensive side. Obviously, for context, we talked about who we've lost. You've lost a ton of defensive guys to the portal. Grady Kelly, Dante Anderson, Turner, Green, Jones, Patrick Payton. Tamawa, who didn't play too much, DeMarco Ward, Marion Cooper, Murphy, and then D.D. Holmes most recently. So you've lost a lot on your line, especially. You've lost 9 guys, you've lost almost 9 guys on your line exclusively, and then a couple linebackers.
Who would you pick out of that
guys.
group was the most impactful to lose?
Most impactful to lose. You could say just based on historical metrics with Patrick Payton, because you could say, well, if you put another guy with him again, like you had with First, could he have a breakout? You get him to recommit to having a motor again and trying, and then pair him with a James Williams and, just who we'll talk about here in a second. Could he have another breakout year? And that's what LSU's counting on. They're counting on him to repeat what he had with Jared Verse and Braden Fisk. But I would say Patrick Payne just based on historical context.
Yeah, let me sum it up. No significant losses here. I kind of liked Grady Kelly. I thought he was getting more into the rotation. I think he would have been a quality backup guy, but no superstars here. Lamont Green was a legacy guy. Jones was a legacy guy. No, Sean Murphy couldn't find his way onto the field. So Omari Cooper, he's back out there again. So everybody's, no significant stars were lost. And so now we're going to get into who we brought in terms of, are they potential guys or are they productive guys?
Yep. And the first one there is.
And you know what? We started saying that stuff some time ago. And it's funny how some of the other media folks are starting to use that a lot. So I'll just leave it at that. And we'll move forward here.
So the first one we'll talk about was, I think, the first big pop for Florida State in terms of defensive aside, and it comes with Pot Roast and Tony White, and from Nebraska was James Williams. This is a guy that I don't think we can debate is an impact player based on what he's done at Nebraska. He's got 2 years remaining, which I think is huge. But because potentially he could have that kind of growth curve like Jared Verse had in terms of get better and better and kind of grow into the system, unless he has a monster year this year, which could incentivize him going to the next level early. But based on what he was able to do in kind of limited reps he had last year, 7 sacks. He would have been the leading sack leader, I believe, on Florida State through what I think he had like 4 or 5 last year of that total in 12 games last year, or how many games he played last year. So he has production. Once again, he's only played 2 years in Nebraska. He is kind of that longer, bigger type of kind of built like Patrick Payne in a way. But he has a relentless motor. If you look at his tape, and he fits what Tony White wants to do, kind of the way you can move him around. I think this is the type of player you want in this type of defense, and this is the type of relentless player Florida State needed to get. So I think this is a major benefit of getting the guys.
Yeah, they're going to be. Looks like under Tony White, he wants to run the 3-3-5, and the defensive ends, the rush ends in that type of defense, they both have to be able to be push the passer, push the pocket on passing plays, and set the edge. They now, could you put in a guy just to rush the passer on a 3rd and 12? Absolutely. You know what I mean? So I think this guy will be productive. Do I see him at this point as a star? You kind of indicated maybe he's the best of the litter at this point. I'm not sure he is. On the defensive side, he could be, because I don't see, as we go through these right now, any stars we've brought in the portal, but he looks like a good football player.
No, I mean, of the guys we brought in, you have to put star in context. Like star doesn't have to be their
I talk about dominating guy, a guy who dominates, and he's not a dominating guy to me. He's not a Fisk, he's not a Verse. Those guys dominated the game. They dominated the game. So I hope Mr. Williams can be that, and and Stephon Thomas down here, another Nebraska guy, the linebacker coming in. I don't believe Tony White would have accepted them.
Okay, we're jumping order.
Oh, that's okay. Well, I thought you're both Nebraska guys. We just cover them together.
Yeah.
Is I don't believe that any head coach of the defense, Tony White or Terrence Knighton, are going to bring these guys in. They know who can play, and they say these guys can play. They can help us. That's who they're hiring. If you're running a company, your company is the defense. You're going to bring in employees who can help you, and they wouldn't have brought these guys in for any other reason. So I trust in the coaches that they know these guys.
Yeah, well. I mean, Stephon Thompson's not.
He's not a star.
No, he's not a star, but he's a guy that knows the Tony White system. He played with him at Syracuse. He's played with him at 4 years at Syracuse.
That's right. He knows him well, and he fits that system.
And so he's a guy that a veteran will keep guys accountable, can call out coverages. I think he's the captain on the field. He's Tony White on the field.
Yeah, I like how you said that. Yes.
And so he's kind of, when you look back at it, he's like the Tatum Bethune potentially, or the
exactly. And
call things out. Maybe less athletic in terms of that, but he can still make plays. He wouldn't be on the field. He's going to make plays. But he's a smart guy. He was scholar athlete on a roll at Nebraska.
Yeah, no
IQ.
problem.
But like you said, he can be the eyes and the ears on the field and help execute and make sure guys in position running Tony White's first year defense at Florida State. So I think that's why he's in here, and he trusts Tony White to put him in the right position as well. So
and like you said, I think you hit it there. He can be the captain on the field for Tony White's eyes because he knows Tony White knows him, and he knows Tony White.
Yeah,
he can move guys around that are out of position.
Yeah. So James Williams, I do believe will be an impact player. I think potentially he may be more of an impact player in his second year than his first year, but I think he will have the ability and will have the motor to be an impact player.
Thompson is a 1-year guy.
Yeah, Thompson is definitely a 1-year guy. Impact will be interesting. I think his impact will be more on those call outs and kind of field control versus will be statistically. I don't think he'll be a huge statistic guy. So it's hard to measure impact there. I don't think he's going to come on and dominate and be a rocket on the field like Deloach or guys like that were. I think it'll be more the leadership. It'll be more the leadership role. So it's hard for me to put an impact on him.
Our linebacker room last season was not good.
No, and I don't think Stephon Thompson
we didn't. We said it was weak going in, so we can't blame them. They just didn't have the experience, and they, So I think it's an upgrade. I think the kid's probably an upgrade. So we'll see.
I think we could debate that.
Is he better than Blake Nicholson?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, he has a lot more experience than Blake Nicholson.
He's not a big. Yeah,
he's 5 years in. This will be his 6th year. Blake will be in his 3rd.
Yeah.
So I don't.
While we're moving on, let's move right into the other. If you want, can we move into? Unless you have an order set up there.
No, we can.
Let's move right into. Let's move into Caleb Lavelle from North Carolina. Now, to me, this guy is a potential guy. You kind of said Stephon. Stephon he's got to be a productive guy. He's got 1 year. Williams is production and potential. Caleb, to me, is a potential guy all the way. He doesn't have any serious production coming to this football team besides maybe is adding depth to the linebacker room without a lot of experience and playing good special teams.
And the lack of production is not due to him not being good. It's due to him. He was a young player and they didn't play.
Okay, well that's lack of production. Any way you cut that, he hasn't had.
He got production on the one game he played. I mean,
he's not a production guy we're bringing in.
Well, I think the reason that Florida State picked him up was the way he played in their bowl game because he got to start in their bowl game and he had the best grade on the field.
Yeah. Now, supposedly in his favor, a lot of North Carolina people are upset that he didn't get to play more during the season, and now they feel it is a loss. That's what the fan base thinks. The chatter I saw. So
because
maybe we're getting a pretty good guy here.
Well, they actually got to start during the bowl game,
right?
And they saw him running all over the field and making plays like that,
and making plays.
And so I think that, like you said, this is a guy with little experience because he never got to get on the field. But when he got on the field,
that's all I'm saying.
Bowl game,
that's all I'm saying. He could be the next NFL guy. As far as I know, I'm not saying he's not a good player. I'm saying he hasn't had the production. You're saying because he hadn't been on the field. Well, it goes hand in hand.
No,
so we welcome him. I think he's going to have a high motor and be motivated to get on the field. And given this defense, I think he's also a type of guy could be good in pass coverage. Like Blake Nicholson, I think is better in pass coverage and chasing players than he is meeting a player head on. I don't think either one of these guys are Dick Butkus type guys that are big guys, as college football goes right now. But I think he's going to be, we'll see.
Yeah. I like you said, I think it's impactful in that it raises the talent level of the linebacker room.
Yes, and you need guys on special teams. He's going to be on special teams.
This isn't some 3-star scrub that you just signed
out
of high school.
No,
this is a guy that's play ready. Who's a highly rated guy out of high school that you lost a recruiting battle for.
Yep.
And now you get back, and now you have some recent game tape to see and that's why you kind of played the battle because you saw him in the bowl game. And so I think this guy raises the room, and that's why he's impactful. He made, the impact, the rate of that impact.
He's not a star.
We're not talking stars. We're talking impact. This is the star rating show. This is how will they make an impact next year? And I believe he will make an impact this next season.
I didn't say he wouldn't.
But you're talking stars. You're saying he's not a star.
I said he's not a star when they brought him in.
Why are you talking stars? Like, there's no stars on this team right now. We can just clear that. There is no stars on this football team right now.
I didn't.
You don't have to even say the word star anymore.
You're right. There aren't any stars.
There's no stars.
You're right.
There's none.
I didn't mean to irritate you.
All right,
I didn't mean
Elijah
to put
Herring.
the cattle prod in you there.
But you just keep saying he's not a star. He's not a star. Well, no one said he was a star. Did anyone bring up he's a star? The last 10, no one
it's
said
just
he
my
was a star.
comment. It's not my comment. Okay, let's move on. Let's go on to Herring.
All right.
Now, this is the guy that I hear a lot of chatter about. A lot of people are thinking that this guy is probably going to be one of the most impactful players on defense. And this is why Tony White wanted this guy. All right. He's got experience. And it looks like that he might have a significant impact because Tony White needs some impact guys at the linebacker position. Okay. Because 3 linemen up front means linebackers have to fill holes. Okay. They have to fill holes and they have to be tough and they have to be good decision makers. It looks like maybe this guy can do that.
Yeah, I mean, you need guys that can go sideline to sideline in this defense. You need guys that can cover in the open space, and he seemingly can do that. He can, and you've seen kind of similar clips with both him and Laval is that they're athletic, they're strong. I think that's the biggest thing. They're well developed. They're big guys.
Right.
These are guys that are above 215, 220. They're 6'2" and above. These are guys that can fill the hole, but they can also cover in space, right? They're not afraid to. They attack and they attack fast, and that's what you need to see.
Well, Tatum Bethune was going to be some superstar in the NFL, but he was a very good college football player, and he could get after people, and he was a solid tackler. I see this guy sort of like that.
Yeah, and that's what Clay said in his tweet. That he agreed that with this guy's comment.
Okay.
This guy said similar to Bethune.
Okay.
And he said, yeah, that's instincts in the run game. It was more Lundy, more like DJ Lundy, but he moves much more laterally than Lundy did. So, and that's what you need. I think that was the biggest.
Well, is Lundy coming back?
No, God, please, I hope not.
No, wait a minute. He got hurt early on, didn't he?
But he shouldn't be a starting linebacker at Florida State.
He's probably still waiting for a medical red shirt, which the NCAA, for some reason, takes years to approve. It's ridiculous what they go through.
DJ Lundy's a big hitter type of guy, but he's not at
no. But DJ Lundy would be good to have in the room.
No. If he has to be on the field, then that means too many guys.
He was going to be our starter last year. Now you're totally saying guys shouldn't even be in the room.
He was going to be our starter last year, and you said our room was bad, and that's what we need to get.
I said the room didn't have a lot of experience, but he would still in my program, I would still welcome DJ Lundy if he's physically ready to play.
Yeah, I'd rather
Okay.
him at a different be a fullback in the system because I just he's not athletically. As the comment says, he can't move laterally fast enough.
Now, Mr. Dorfman likes this Herring player, and so I think Herring's going to probably have some kind of impact. He's got to have an impact because this room still lacks some level of experience. You got Otto Graham coming back, Omar Graham, but it still doesn't have a lot of experience. Cryer's coming back. I like him as well. And Blake Nicholson. And I like Blake.
All those guys started last year.
Right. And I like Blake. So,
Omar was on the field a lot.
I think we're upgraded. Yeah, I think we've upgraded.
Yeah.
I think we agree on that.
Elijah's got to make an impact. He's got a ton of experience.
He's going to be player. He's going to be on the field a lot.
Yeah.
That's the
Again,
expectation.
these guys aren't all. They're not going to come in expecting these guys to be all ACC. I don't expect Elijah to come in to be an all ACC guy. I don't expect Stefan to be an all ACC guy. But these are two veteran guys that can play the position and win you football games as long as they stay healthy. Like these guys fill holes, fill that need of getting experience who can be veteran leaders in the room. And then you get some more, but also you have the athletic guys like Kel Lavelle and Blake Nicholson and Omar Graham. Then you have the younger athletic guys around them, and you can kind of rotate guys around. So I think it's smart to bring more veteran presence in. So you guys who have done it for 4 or 5 years be the captains on the field, and then you rotate as you see fit, or as you scheme against different teams, guys who have mobile quarterbacks. You can match fits, right? You can play match against different types of schemes. So I think they've made the right moves, and they've gotten more athletic in the linebacker room. So I think it's smart. I think it's smart.
All right, who else is on the list?
Defensive linemen. So 4 defensive linemen, because we talked about they lost about 9 guys on the line altogether.
That's where I would want to spend my money. O-line and D-line. That's where I'd want to, because that's ultimately that's where you win games.
Yeah, and we talked about James Williams already. One of the most recent guys, or 2 of the most recent guys, were the guy DeMonte Diggs from Coastal Carolina. So he just signed, I believe, last week out of Coastal Carolina. So what are your thoughts on this?
I think Mr. Diggs is going to be a quality backup. I don't necessarily see him as a starter. He could be put in for the rotation on the edge, during pass situations. I think he'll be in the rotation. I'm not sure he'll be the starter there, though.
Yeah,
but he's played football. I mean, he's played some quality football. The teams he's been playing against are not ACC, SEC. They've played a few opponents, but he's gonna have to step it up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he's a big guy, 6'5", 260. Very athletic in terms of his speed. You would expect, but you look how he comes off the edge there. The guy can fly. I don't know about his technical ability, but the guy has some speed coming off the edge like that.
Right.
He had decent statistics at Coastal Carolina last year.
He wants to up his game. He's going to be hungry.
This is his final year. This is his final year.
This is it.
He's looking to play.
He is hungry
against high-level competition.
Exactly.
And show that he can produce similar stats.
Exactly.
And get game tape for the next level. So,
yeah,
I agree with you. I see him as a rotational piece in certain play situations where speed and athleticism is needed. And I think he gives you some of what Patrick Payne would give you in terms of that speed.
Do you think he's an upgrade, a downgrade, or the same as a Payton and a Jones?
If he gives you the motor that was shown in the clips I've seen so far, I think it's similar or better than what we got from Payne last year.
Because Payton and Jones have been a disappointment given the star status that they supposedly had.
Coming
out of high school.
For Payton, we saw what he had when he had guys around him, but we just didn't see the consistent motor last year. If these guys come in, they have the motor and they chase the football and they clean up plays and they get in assists on tackles and assists on sack. Like that's what we need, guys. We need guys to hustle on every single play and not give up on plays And I think that's what a guy like this hopefully will bring, is that consistent motor, or they
Yep.
hopefully won't be on the field.
No, I
Like
agree.
they were last year.
I agree.
The other guy we want to talk about is the other guy that I believe announced this past week was Javon Jenkins from Tennessee. So another Tennessee kid comes over. Jason Jenkins from Tennessee. So he comes over and joins his other Tennessee joins Squirrel. Squirrel.
Yep.
So what do you think of Jason?
I think I think time will tell. He's played some, he's been at Tennessee. That's not an easy place to get into to play football. You know, your talent has been evaluated. He's had to fight his way onto the field. His experience is not as high as I would have liked to seen it production wise. So I see him as bringing some production, but he's also bringing some potential. How many years does he have left?
I believe he had.
Hopefully two. Hopefully two.
Yeah. Let me.
And he's had a lot of. He's played on a defense that he had a lot of good pieces around him, which, as you just said moments ago,
and he was rotational for Tennessee.
Yeah, when you have those other good pieces, it lets you shine. When an offense can just concentrate on you, it doesn't help you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's part of it. I think he has ability.
Yeah, so he was, I believe he has, so he's been with Tennessee for 3 years, but he redshirted, so I think he has at least 2 years left.
That'd be nice.
He would have been pushing for a starting role with Tennessee this upcoming year.
Yes, I think they didn't want to lose him.
No, and he was, like you said, I think he's looking for his shot at putting up numbers and getting more playing time, and in a new scheme, and playing with, getting coached by Tony White. And I think you can see in some of these clips, this guy has very high upside, and he's explosive. He's violent,
I think,
and he played against quality competition, and he played against quality and that's what you like. You like a guy that
in practice too, in practice as well. I think all the stars lined up for him. He goes, I can go to Florida State. I can probably be a starter there. I'm going to get more reps there. They're going to hit me with some NIL money, and I've got a couple of years to develop there. And Tony White wants me, and Pot Rose Terrace Knighton wants me. So I think I'm going to go take this shot. I'll say goodbye to my friends and move on. That's the new day of college football.
And I think what you'll notice with him and between him and DeMonte is that they're very explosive off the edge. They're very athletic guys, and they're big. They're big and they're athletic.
Right.
What he's known for is that he's pretty good in the running game and can do some things against the pass, but he's known, I believe, for being strong against the run game, which Florida State at times did struggle against. But both those guys are long, they're big, and they're very explosive, which I think is Florida State wanted to get with. I think they got away from that. It seemed like they lost some of that when they lost Verse, and they lost Fisk, and Peyton last year just he fell off the radar totally. But they want to get some guys who can explode off the line and really compress that pocket quickly and get after the ball. And so I think that's what you get in a guy like this, another rotational player. And it'll be interesting to see how Tony White operates his offense, because with a 3-3-5, guys are going to be kind of moved around a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see how they utilize these guys in it, along with some of the younger guys that they've brought in. So, but I think this is a guy that should be impactful right away in the rotational aspect. I don't see him; he's not going to be on the field every single down, but I think he should have the ability to make an impact right away. And from the tape you've seen, I think he should. The last guy is from Western Kentucky, defensive lineman Deontay McCray. I haven't watched a whole ton about him, but obviously I haven't watched a ton of Western Kentucky football. And I think that's the only interesting thing too, is that of the guys they signed on the defensive side, only 2 of them are from non ACC or SEC schools. Everyone else is from an ACC or a Power 4 school, which you kind of like. Outside, Elijah Herring was Tennessee, Memphis. But what are your thoughts on Dante McCray?
Yeah, I
what
think
he
he's
can
going to be. I think he's a potential guy. But he's going to add to depth on the defensive line. I don't think he'll be counted on as being a starter or a heavy rep guy. I think they'll use him in certain situations, right? And I think he'll add to the rotation. You need rotation players. You're going to have guys that get hurt, and so I think they'll be rotating guys for not just to rotate guys, but you have to keep your defense fresh, and they'll use him in situations that are maybe not as crucial where they'll have the starters in there. So I think he has an opportunity. He's looking at an opportunity to bring his game to another level. So I think it's a decent pickup, but more of a potential guy. I think he's got at least 2 years.
Yeah. No, this is a guy that, like you said, I don't expect him. I don't think the defense and Tony White expect him to come in and have 10 sacks. But I think it's another quality rotational piece that comes in with experience.
Right.
A guy with 59 tackles and 2.5 sacks this past season.
Right.
Another 6'4", 280 plus guy. Fast, long, tall, athletic, and that's the pattern for all these guys they brought in. They're all tall, they're all athletic, and they're all pretty explosive. So that tells you about what they want in this defense along the edge and along the line. So I think that's not the pattern. That's not telling of what this defense is going to look like and what they want to get more towards versus what they were this past season. It should be known because
I think the challenge. I think the challenge will be for Tony White and coaching staff is how quickly can they bring this defense together. Okay, because they got a bunch of new coaches, and we'll get into room by room and what we see and who we think the stars are sometime, not tonight, obviously. But it'll be how quickly can they bring all the defense together. The new guys, it's going to be new for everybody. It'll be new for everybody, even guys that have been Florida State for 2 seasons already. It's going to be new for them, except for the guys coming out of Nebraska. It won't be new for them. So they're going to have an edge to get on the field and help the other guys. It'll be almost like assistant coaches on the field. But it's going to be very interesting, very fascinating to see how this all comes together.
Yeah. And so I think, I don't want to say that.
All right. Hey. We got a nice contribution there by Mr. McMillan, Bill McMillan.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, man. Hey, we got the light up for William McMillan, $2. Go Noles,
William,
beat down Miami. Woo!
William, we really appreciate that.
Wow,
that's
thank
nice,
you, buddy.
Thank you, William.
We
appreciate that.
Yeah, we definitely
after the holidays
that.
Things are tough, so we appreciate that and appreciate the support. You and everyone here in supporting what we do. So we appreciate that a lot. Thank you so much.
Exactly. So I think it's all going to come down to how well this comes together.
But are you
makes
concerned,
it interesting.
Though? Are you concerned? I mean, I don't want to, I don't,
Well,
and
and William McMillan makes a good, one of our loyal family members here, fans, is you gotta beat Miami because Miami's not only an in-state game, but it's also a conference game.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
100%.
So that's going to be a critical game. They're doing the same thing. They're restocking too. So it's it's crazy.
Well, and that's the thing I was thinking to myself the other day is that we always get excited about who we're signing and we think, oh, this guy's great, but every school in the country, especially in the top 20, is doing the same thing. They're getting excited about the guys they're signing, and they think the world of them. So that's the interesting part about the portal world is that every team is signing 10, 15, 20 plus, unless you're Clemson.
It's crazy.
But they're signing more guys. They're signing.
They made the playoffs. They won. They won the ACC championship.
But even they're signing guys now. So that's the thing though, is that we get I get so wrapped up in who we're signing as a team that we forget that these other fans they get excited about the guys they're signing who are similar, and so it's interesting every year because every roster is different so the Miami team we played this past season is going to look totally different. It could be better, it could be worse. they're not going to have Cam Ward. They're not going to have Cam Ward again. But, their defense may be better because their defense is dog shit, right? So they could have a worse offense, but an elite defense. It's year to year so much. It's interesting. So it's
now
let
me add this: is there's good news and bad news. We kind of like what's coming in. We won't know till we see something on the field. We'll find out against Alabama. The thing is, a lot of this team now, the way this is running is we'll have to reconstruct this team again in 2026. Your quarterback will be gone. Most of your starting offensive linemen will be gone. You know what I mean? And it's really, you're going to have to go back out, but that's the way the game is right now.
Yeah,
that's the way the game is. And that you have to accept that, and you have to move forward with that. So let me ask you this quickly. Okay, first of all, William asked us, any news on the App State wide receiver? I have not heard. Has he been on campus for a visit? I have not heard. He's not signed. I know that with anybody.
No, I have not heard that he has been confirmed on campus yet, and that he has been signed either. So,
we'll monitor it, but I haven't seen anything.
Absolutely. I haven't seen anything today. Definitely monitor that. I do think that it would be another addition to get some more numbers, experienced numbers in the receiver room. But I do think still that this team does need to get additional offensive line. I think they need to add one or two more.
Okay, here's an interesting one. I'll ask you this. I don't think Brock Glenn's going anywhere. He might after spring, but I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's settled in and saying, listen, people get hurt, unfortunately, and I'll be in a position to compete for this second spot. The question is, quickly now, because we've been on here for a long time, quickly now, does Florida State need to get another quarterback, maybe an FCS level guy that really has torched it, who's looking for an opportunity, is willing to sit there at compete for number 2 and be ready to go at number 1 if Castellanos were to go down. I believe that they need to go find another guy, experienced guy. Now, that could be a very experienced guy at the FCS level, or maybe a guy. It's unlikely they're going to find one at the Division I level that would bring in enough experience to sit. I just think I'm concerned that if we have a quarterback go down, Castellanos goes down, how that's going to change the season.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna. I think Brock Glenn is your best bet. I think he will stay. I see him as kind of in the Sean McGuire type of role right now.
Yeah,
he's gotta, he'll hopefully you keep him. He sees himself in the number 2 role, and he kind of accepts that. I think he kind of knows he does need to get better too to succeed. I think some players are gonna realize this, that they may go into the portal and they may find themselves in a terrible situation where they don't go anywhere, or
there's a lot of guys in the portal,
or they wind up in shit state university as second string again. And they're not in a great university and not with their friends anymore. And now they're also competing for the one position, but they're in the middle of nowhere and they don't want to be there. So, why throw away a perfect opportunity to get better, to compete, to be in the number 2 spot, and then next year see where you are and compete for the number 1 spot, knowing that role will open up. Or then by then you can say, okay, I've gotten better. I'm probably getting this NIL paycheck to keep me on the team. I potentially have my degree by then because I'll be 3 years in. And then I can go anywhere, then I can decide what I want to do next, how the landscape looks. So I think for him, I see him as this Sean McGuire role. He does have some experience. We can't say he doesn't have experience. We've seen him play. He's started 5, 6, 7 games now. It's not looked perfect, but he has reps. Can he carry Florida State to a national championship? No. But, having him there is probably your best bet because he's played against some of the top teams in the ACC while here. You're not going to get the top FCS quarterback. Those guys are actually going to the top FBS teams. The top FCS quarterback's not going to come here because they're going to start somewhere. If you go for a mid-tier FCS quarterback, I don't think that's better than Sean McGuire. Or sorry, I don't think that's better than Brock Glenn. So I think you keep Sean McGuire, keep him retained, continue to develop, your other quarterbacks that Kevin Sperry and the other guys you're bringing in, and Trevor Jackson, and you hang with those guys. I think that's your best bet. Having Brock Glenn and the experience he has, I think, is invaluable to you and to what he brings right now.
Okay, this guy, True Edwards, KH, asking about him. Florida State offered him, it looks like, but he still hasn't made any decisions.
Yeah.
He's the wide receiver, productive wide receiver out of Louisiana Tech, but no words on him yet.
Yeah. So that's my spiel on the quarterback. I would not expect them to bring anyone else in quarterback wise. Receiver wise,
I think it's going to keep me on edge all season, to be honest. Because if Castellanos were to go down or be out for a while, then Brock Glenn is your most experienced quarterback at this point, unless is Jackson still on the team?
Yeah, as far as I know, yeah.
Okay, he didn't leave. For some reason, I thought he left, but he's not. And then we got the incoming freshman. So, but that's kind of, I think, a weak area for us to be honest.
I think it's stronger than most teams. Look at Georgia. Look what they had. I mean, their quarterback. Look at their number 2. He had you're not going to find many teams that have this overly experienced backup quarterback in the age of NIL. It just doesn't happen. Brock Glenn is probably one of the most experienced number 2 quarterbacks in the country, I would assume.
Well, let me address something here where Ken said, why do you keep saying Sean McGuire? Sean McGuire was in a permanent type backup role, but came in and won games when it was on the line. We're not saying anything bad about Thomas Castellanos.
No, but when
I think Tommy
got hurt or when he got suspended, Sean McGuire stepped in for the Clemson game and won it for them. And I think Brock Glenn and Sean McGuire basically knew he was a backup for most of his career. Like he was the number 2 guy.
And some guys are willing to do that, just like some coaches.
Yeah.
Mickey Andrews, the great defensive coach, probably the greatest defensive coach we ever had at Florida State football, was Mickey Andrews. He never wanted to be a head coach. He was willing to do that job. Okay. So Sean McGuire was willing to do that, but they didn't have portal back in the day of Sean McGuire. You had to go sit out a year. And blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Now, let me say this. Tommy can win it all. So Ken thinks that Tommy Castellanos, if he stays healthy, could win it all, meaning I assume he means the ACC. Do you believe, KB, at this point, what you know about this team, how many games do you believe they can win? And do you believe they'll be in the ACC championship?
There's too many.
And I'm not asking you to, you can always change that. I'm saying, so what you know now.
I mean,
let me start.
It really depends on the line. It depends on this line plays. This team will win as many games as depending on how much this line has improved. If this line still looks anything like it did last year, this team will only win 3 to 4 games. I'm being totally serious.
Wow.
If they cannot average more than 150
well, then Norvell
yards
would be
a game,
fired. Would you agree?
He will be.
He'd be fired.
Yes. If they can't average, look up, average rushing yards per game. If they can't average more than, I'd say, 150 yards per game next year, then they're in trouble. If they can't establish the run and balance the offensive attack, and they're solely relying on Castellanos' arm and his running ability, then they're in trouble. That is my gut reaction.
Okay, my reaction is this. Based on today, the data we have, the information we have, I do not see how this team cannot win at minimum 6 games and get some kind of a toilet bowl game, okay, token bowl game, not in the playoffs, okay? As a minimum, that's the minimum bottom that I see for this team based on the schedule. If you pull up the schedule, they should be at worst 3-1 after the first 4 games. At worst. All right.
Well, we don't know the dates of all the games, but 2-1, I think.
And now here's I say at least 3-1.
We don't know who they're
Trevor Jackson. Trevor Jackson could work himself into the Gus Malzahn offense to be the number 2. Okay. Ken does agree with me, the old man. How about that? But look at this game. Look at this roster. Okay, let's say we lose to Alabama.
Doesn't matter who
let's say we lose to Alabama. The key there is if you lose, be competitive. Everybody's going to be marking how much progress we made by Alabama's going to have a new quarterback too. They're going to have a bunch of new players.
That actually hurts Florida State because we wish Jalen Milroe.
Well, I don't know about that.
He's not a good quarterback. What do you mean you don't know? He's not a very good quarterback.
Okay, and don't look at. We don't play Florida. These dates are wacko here. I don't know how they
November
don't have the dates. How do they?
Because it's always play on the same week. It's always play on the same week.
But what I'm saying is Alabama. Okay, we're going to beat East Texas and Kent State. So there's 2-1. I think we play. Who else do we play? Look. Virginia. We will beat Virginia. We will beat Stanford. We should beat North Carolina State. We should beat Wake Forest. Virginia Tech's horrible. We should beat them. Pittsburgh, you never know with Pitt. Hey, what's his name could come in here? Who went there? What's our Deuce Spann comes here and runs a kickoff back to win it for Pitt. Who the hell knows? The key games will be Clemson and Miami. Those are your 2 toughest games on this schedule. This team could go, and Alabama. This team could actually go 8-3. I think they could go anywhere from 6 wins to 8 wins if they got lucky and this thing really comes together. They could win 9 games. I heard a major FSU media guy say 10 wins.
Well,
okay. I'm not trying to blow this up for fans. We don't do that on this show. But 6 wins is, if he doesn't get 6 wins in some kind of a bowl game, there will be questions, but his job would be okay. But then he's going to have to rebuild.
You have a great home schedule, ACC-wise. The only tough road game play is at Clemson. You get Miami at home, Pitt at home, Virginia Tech at home. NC State's
But do you
on the road.
see this as a tough schedule?
No, but it really doesn't matter who the opponent is. We didn't have, in my opinion, a tough schedule last year. But if you don't have an offensive line, it doesn't freaking matter. It doesn't matter.
I agree.
If you only average 80 yards rushing per game, you will lose everyone on this schedule. I don't care who the hell they are.
I don't know about that. But
we averaged 82 yards rushing last year.
Right.
82. That was 132nd.
Well,
if they don't double that, if they don't get that to 140 yards or close to how it was in 2023, you will not win more than 3 games.
Here's the good news.
Mark it down.
For most of Gus Malzahn's career, wherever he was, his rushing offense or his production of offense has always been at least in the top 25 in the country. That's good news. And he hasn't had a lot of elite players. He had, what's his name, that went to the Panthers, that quarterback, I forget his name. You know who I'm talking about. He was very good. Newton. Cam Newton. He was very good. But he hasn't had elite players. He hadn't had elite players at UCF, okay, except for Dylan. He wasn't there when Dylan Gabriel was there. But he's had good production. So if we're not getting 100 yards per game, I would agree with you. Then we're going to start raising some eyebrows. Because, but this schedule sets up perfectly for a rebound. The question is, what do the fans expect a rebound to look like? I'm saying 6 to 8 games is a rebound, given the shit show that we just saw. Okay, but the bottom line is, you got to get a lot of wins this year because you're going to have to rebuild the whole thing again next year. Yeah, we're gonna be doing exactly what we're doing now next year.
Yeah, but that's not a big deal because that's how it is. So we don't need to make a big deal about that. Okay. And also, you should be in the hunt every year. If you're playing the ACC, you should be always.
I agree.
Title.
I
don't care if you go 1-10 the last year or 11-1. Every single year, you should be able to build a roster that competes for a national or competes for an ACC title. Because your schedule is going to look something like this every year.
If we're not in the hunt for the ACC title game
then up
to the final week,
someone needs to be held accountable.
Then the fans are not going to be happy.
And they shouldn't be.
Okay.
It's just the way it is.
All right.
That's not. If you're Stanford, that's okay. But if you're Florida State, that's not okay.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
All
that's
right.
just real.
Very good. Very good. I've got one other thing that I'll let you finish up.
All right.
Let's remember what this anniversary is that is upon us. You remember that? Remember that?
Yep.
National champs.
Yep.
Jameis Winston throws the ball in against Gus Malzahn defense, right? His team. He was head coach at Auburn. What a play. I've got the official magazine. What a play. It talks about all the games, everything. What a play. And then, of course, always, and I have a bunch of these. There's the Sports Illustrated. I hate those. When they wrote that crappy article years ago, you probably don't even remember. Jameis Winston, that's the same thing. We went back to the top. The question is, when will Florida State be back at the top? When will we be back at the top? It's a long road, but the way it is now with the portal, you can flip things quickly. And this schedule for 2025 sets up nicely. It
does.
With some luck.
And I don't think they're done building, too. Because as we talk, Louisville starting offensive tackle, who's allowed only 4 career sacks and 2,300 snaps, has entered the portal. So, like I said, I expect more guys who can. They're going to continue attacking the portal. This roster isn't even close to being done in my eyes. And I think the trenches, offensive line. We talked about receivers. You guys have brought up the guy Appalachian State receiver. There's a couple of more pieces that are going to be added to it. So we didn't cover all of them. I expect them. I expect some potential guys to continue to leave. I think we need to shed some more guys, and we need to add some more guys in my eyes, especially in the trenches, because like you said earlier, guys are going to get hurt, and we're still seeing guys like this who are graduate transfers.
We got to go after a guy like
we
this.
Need to go after guys like this, and we need to make. I hope we have the money still left, because once again.
Oh, they got some money. They're holding back some money. When you see a guy like this, you have to immediately sit down, get your staff, the pertinent staff guys together, and say, "Do we call this guy up right now?" You can't wait too long.
Yeah. No, these guys are gonna be taken up.
Why wouldn't you call a guy up like this to have a talk with?
No, I agree. So, like I said, I think we need to take 2 more offensive linemen minimum. But and you see, there's more guys jumping every day. These veteran guys. Yeah. So,
well, I think in a future show coming up here soon, we're going to start. We need to look at, and we may start with the offensive line room and see who's in there, who we think can play, who we think can make a contribution. I think that, that's coming up. I think that would be interesting for me and you and for our family of viewers out there. I really do. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Anything else?
No, I think that is it for now. But yeah, we'll have an upcoming show. I think, next, we can save it for our next show, but we'll have our thoughts from the playoff games and what we've been seeing. Because I think there's been some interesting takeaways from how some of these playoff teams have built their rosters and through transfers. And just because once again, I think we've seen with what the transfer portal has done, it's not just SEC domination anymore. I think there's been some sharing of talent now over the past 2 years, and it's not just a bunch of SEC schools.
Well, it's free agency every year, every season, free agency.
And it's how you build your roster, it's how you spend your money, and it's how you it's not how much accumulated talent can you get, but it's how you coach that talent too. It's how you develop your roster. And Arizona State, I think, is the perfect situation of that. That was a football team that was on probation a couple of years ago when Herm Edwards was the coach and left.
Big shout out to Kenny Dillingham.
Yeah.
Great job there. Let's see if he can sustain it. Let's see if he can sustain it.
Yeah, let's see if he can sustain it. But look what he's done in little time to turn that team around from what it was, and do it with some guys that you probably didn't even hear about, didn't even know who they were 6 weeks ago, right? So there's a lot of lessons that we could talk about from the playoffs and what these teams have done. in building their rosters out, and what Florida State could learn from it as well. So, so thank you all for coming out. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the likes.
Really.
Thanks for the subscriptions. We appreciate it.
Let me say this, KB. Please, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, please do it. It doesn't cost you anything. We never, people have said, well, you guys should ask that more. We don't do that a lot. Please hit that subscribe button. Boy, we would love to get to that 1K mark. I think we're 60, maybe 60 some subs from
like
that.
60
but
away. For like
it'd
60
be fun to hit it. It motivates us, and if you can do that for us, if you haven't done it, we appreciate it. If you've already done it, thank you very much. We enjoy you guys. We enjoy your comments. We try to get them up there for you, discuss them. You guys are discussing it online yourself there. And that's what it's all about. We all love Florida State football and sports in general. Okay. But it's funny. Like I said, next year, we'll be talking about the same shit, but don't perceive. Some people say, well, you guys are really negative. We're not being negative. We're just giving the reality of what we see.
I don't think we were negative at all today. No, I thought we were very positive about.
I think so. And obviously, we're all here because we find it entertaining. We like Florida State football. We find it entertaining. We get emotional about it just like you guys do. There's stories we'd like to hear. I look at the chatter a lot. KB has a real full-time job, but we enjoy this. In fact, he's shoveling on a snow 6-8 inches, something like that. But it's all good. We enjoy it a lot.
But thank you again for the donation as well. We appreciate the donation.
William McMillan, thank you again for your nice donation. That was very nice. Yeah. And we got some nice notes back from the Boys and Girls Club of the Big Bend and the animal shelter there in Tallahassee. You guys are great. You guys are great. So we appreciate it very much.
All right, so we will see you guys back soon. Make sure you click the bell button so you know when our next show is, our next live show, and we'll be talking through the latest additions to the roster, maybe some cuts. We'll see what happens. You never know in the portal era. But yeah, we'll talk to you soon. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy NFL playoffs. Enjoy college football playoffs. And we'll speak with you guys very soon. Be sure to follow the old man on Twitter at Seminole Sideline 365. What's the handle again, old man? It's what is it? Seminole Sideline.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. It's right here. I'll follow the old man. He's the one tweeting all day.
It's our same symbol. I mean,
but it's Seminole Sideline 365. Follow the old man.
That's mostly me, and I sign my name to it most of the time.
He rants a lot, so you can probably find it funny. So follow him there. Thank you guys. Have a great evening. We'll see you all soon. Go Seminoles. Always.